What happened to Shadur Sanders in April's draft was fascinating. It's something we really haven't seen before. Certain examples come to mind like Aaron Rodgers or Laramie Tunsil, but even those guys still went in the first round. Lael Collins also comes to mind, but he only fell because he was being accused of murder. With Sanders, it was none of that. Although he may have murdered his draft stock, but fortunately that's not a criminal offense. Sanders, who at one point was projected to be a top 5 overall pick, fell all the way to 144th overall. There's been endless speculation as to why his draft value plummeted so drastically, but that's not what this video is about. But it is safe to assume that it had to do something with bad interviews, underwhelming traits, or teams just not wanting to deal with any potential baggage that comes along with a former NFL superstar's son. Now, not only was Sanders relegated to the 5th round, but he wasn't even the first quarterback drafted by his own team. As we know, the Cleveland Browns selected Oregon quarterback Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round before taking Sanders. Gabriel's probably most famously known for making the most starts in college football history, even surpassing Bo Nix, which seems impossible. But that leads us to the premise of the video. I don't even want to discuss Sanders as a prospect because that's been discussed ad nauseum. I wanted to go over historical data since the Super Bowl era, which dates back 59 years now, to find out which quarterbacks in Shedeur Sanders' situation actually went on to become successful NFL starters. So here's the criteria. These players must have been selected 140th overall or later and not be the first quarterback selected by their team in that same draft year. Shockingly, there were 55 examples of NFL teams selecting multiple quarterbacks in the same draft during the Super Bowl era. But once we remove the instances where the second quarterback was taken inside of the top 140, it does narrow things down a tiny bit. And considering the NFL drafts used to be 17 rounds and then 12 rounds, does increase the amount of players drafted, so keep that in mind. After researching NFL drafts since 1970, here's what I found. There were 6 quarterbacks taken as the second drafted quarterback by their team, taken prior to pick 140 overall. That excludes the 1971 Oilers, the 1982 Colts, the 1989 Cowboys, the 1989 Packers, the 2006 Jets, and the 2012 Redskins, which of course famously had Kirk Cousins taken at 102 overall after Robert Griffin III. This meant there were 49 examples of quarterbacks being the second of their position drafted to the same team in the same year. Out of those 49 players, only 6 of them went on to make at least 10 starts in the NFL. When you double that number and ask how many of those 49 quarterbacks made at least 20 starts in the NFL, it gets cut in half. Only 3 quarterbacks have started at least 20 games since 1970, when being the second quarterback taken by their team in the same draft class. That list includes Gus Frerotte, Bill Kenny, and Steve DeBerg. While it's impressive for the 3 of these guys to make that many starts despite being later picks, it doesn't mean they were the most successful NFL players. None of them finished with a career record above 500, none of them finished with a career passer rating over 80, none of them finished with a career completion rate above 58%, and the 3 quarterbacks only combined for 1 playoff win, which was DeBerg in 1991. Going off just this information, unless he's the anomaly, Shadur Sanders is destined to be a bust in the NFL. And if Sanders were to live up to the high end of the 49 other quarterbacks before him, he'll be a below average starter at best. I don't like saying that because truthfully, I am a fan of Sanders and believed he was good enough to be a top 10 pick. For a long time, I wanted my Giants to take him 3rd overall, but luckily I pivoted to Abdul Carter a couple days before the draft. I mean, let's just be honest, Carter was too good to pass up. Let's forget about being the second quarterback taken by their team in the same draft. How about quarterbacks that were taken after round 4 dating back to 1994? How did they pan out? And for reference, I'm going back to 1994 because that's when the NFL went to using 7 rounds for their drafts, which is where we're at today. Well, in total, there have been 133 quarterbacks taken after round 4 since that time, which goes back over 30 years now. Out of those 133 quarterbacks drafted, only 7 of them went on to make at least 50 starts in the NFL. Tom Brady, who was famously taken 199th overall, he made 333 career starts. Matt Hasselbeck, who was the 188th overall pick in 1998, he made 160 career starts. Mark Bulger, taken 168th overall in 2000, he made 95 career starts. Ryan Fitzpatrick, everybody's favorite backup quarterback, he was taken 250th overall and made 147 career starts. Matt Castle in 2005 was taken 230th overall. He made 86 career starts. Gus Frerotte, who was mentioned earlier, he was taken 197th overall in 1994. He went on to make 99 career starts. And then there was Tyrod Taylor, taken 180th overall in 2011. He's at 58 career starts. And Brock Purdy should be there by the end of the 2025 season, assuming he starts at least 14 games next season. So including Purdy, just to be fair, this means that 8 out of 133 quarterbacks taken round 5 or later have made at least 50 starts. This tells us that based on history, there's only a 6% chance that Shadur Sanders makes it to 50 starts in the NFL. As you can see, the odds are clearly stacked against him. As the second quarterback drafted by his own team, those guys tend to work out just 6% of the time. And for quarterbacks taken round 5 or later in the past 30 years, those guys work out just 6% of the time, as previously stated. You may be asking yourself, well, how often do quarterbacks drafted by the Cleveland Browns tend to work out in the NFL? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I looked into that too. We all know about that meme of the Browns jersey with all the quarterbacks' names on it, but what's the actual data behind it? Since 1970, the Browns have drafted 31 quarterbacks. To make this a fair exercise, we'll call it 29, since Gabriel nor Sanders have even began their rookie seasons. Out of those 29 quarterbacks, just 5 have made at least 50 starts in the NFL. These 5 quarterbacks put together have a combined record of 220, 230, and 3 in the NFL. The average passer rating for these 5 quarterbacks is 75.1, which is below league average. And out of those 5, just 2 won playoff games with the Cleveland Browns. Bernie Kosar had 3 wins in the 80s, and of course Baker Mayfield in 2020. To try and be optimistic though, how can we see Sanders actually being the outlier here? Well, first off, the Browns might have the first 4-way quarterback competition in NFL history, and the Kenny Pickett hamstring injury only helps his chances. The man projected to be the Browns quarterback 1 is 40 years old and on his 5th different team since 2018. Their $230 million guaranteed quarterback is probably out for the rest of the year as well. And while this goes for the rest of the Browns quarterbacks, Kevin Stefanski's track record speaks for itself. He helped Joe Flacco recently win Comeback Player of the Year, revive Baker Mayfield's career in 2020, Kirk Cousins' first 2 years in Minnesota, and got to the NFC title game with Case Keenum as his quarterback. He's also taken home 2 Coach of the Year awards in his 5 years of being a head coach. So sure, maybe going to Cleveland as their second drafted quarterback was not ideal, but it may not be a death sentence either. If he wins with accuracy and anticipation the way he did at Colorado, then maybe he's their guy for the next 10 years, who knows? As said in the opener, this is really a situation we've never seen before. This isn't Dak Prescott who fell to character concerns, this isn't Russell Wilson or Brock Purdy who fell because they were perceived undersized or didn't have enough physical tools. This is a guy who had never been in trouble with the law prior to the draft and had a respectable 6'1", 212-pound frame. Unlike most quarterbacks taken after round 5 though, I do think Sanders will get a legitimate chance to play. It'd be shocking if Joe Flacco played all 17 games for the Browns in 2025, and then it's just down to Sanders and Gabriel assuming Pickett is traded or released. Historical data tells us there's a 94% chance Shedeur Sanders ends up being nothing at the NFL level. But if there were ever a situation where a late round quarterback can defy the odds, it's this one right here. I'll be rooting for Shedeur and hope he does well. We'll see what happens the rest of this rookie season. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like and subscribe if you did, and I will talk to you guys next time.